Welcome back to Finnish Made Easier. Today we are going to be talking about how to put two verbs together. For example, the sentence may be I want to run or I'm going to sleep. There's kind of an interesting way to do this in Finnish. We have two different types of words or of two different types of verbs. And depending on which type of verb we're using, the way we're going to put verbs together is going to work a little bit differently. So I'm going to try to kind of break this down and make it pretty simple. But the two types of verbs are called modal verbs and motion verbs. The names aren't super important, so if you don't remember those but you remember what they do, then that's the most important part. I'll start out with modal verbs. Modal verbs are much less verbs, but probably the more common ones that you would use in this type of sentence. We have words like to want, to try, to promise. So you can see these are usually pretty common to use in conjunction with another verb, like I want to eat, or I'll try to walk, or I promise to come, things like that. These are going to be modal verbs. Now these are only a few of them. I'm going to put in the video description a whole list of modal verbs. There's actually not that many. And if it's not a modal verb, it's probably a motion verb. These verbs are also used, but are usually a little bit less common for putting two verbs together, but there's a lot more verbs that are motion verbs. So these are things like tulla, which is to come, or oppia, to learn. So you can still use these like I learn to read, or I'm going to eat, things like that. So let's talk about, I guess, how to do it with each word. I'll start with the modal verbs because they're a little bit easier. If they're a modal verb, this means that we're going to just conjugate our first verb like usual. Like if the example, I want to come, we say I want, we're going to start by just conjugating to want, which is haluan. I want haluan. So that's going to be the same in both. But the next verb, if it follows a modal verb, like haluan, we just leave it in its original form. So I put conjugated on this one, and I put INF stands for infinitive, which is just the basic dictionary form of the word. If you look up to come in a dictionary, you'll get tulla. So it's really nice with modal verbs. You can just say haluan tulla. I want to come. Translates into English pretty well. So that works with anything we want to say. With like voida, this is to be able to. If we conjugate it in English, it's usually like I can, so that's quite common, like I can come, or things like that would be minä voin tulla. So we can use it in that sort of a way. Motion verbs are going to be a little bit different. With motion verbs, we're still going to use the first one. It's just going to be the normal verb that's conjugated. So I got this example, I come to visit. We still just have tulen as I come. Whenever we have an I and a verb, it's always going to look like this. We're never going to change that. But with the second word that's following the motion word, we have kind of an interesting form that it takes, which is the first thing we're going to do is find the stem of our word. Like for to visit is käydä, ends in a DA, so we take off the DA to find the word, or to find the stem. And then we add maan onto the end, just M-A-A-N. These A's have the dots. If you don't know why that is, then you can watch my video on vowel harmony, and that'll explain why I put dots on these A's. But this is going to be tulen käymään. Just the verb stem with maan at the end, or man if it's a high vowel word. And if you would, like if the verb's able to be softened, you never soften when adding maan. You can see this ending isn't a consonant vowel or just a consonant, so we don't have to worry about softening at all. We just find the stem, add maan. So I come to visit is tulen käymään. So neither of these rules are particularly difficult. The difficult part is just knowing which type of word is which. And that's something that kind of just comes over time with lots of practice. I would spend time learning a lot of the modal verbs because there's not too many of them. And if you don't recognize it as a modal verb, it's probably a motion verb. So yeah, so that's how it works. Now we could do a little bit of practice to kind of solidify exactly how this works. So I put here some sentences, and then in brackets, just the infinitive form of the words. So obviously this isn't correct. If I say I go to sleep, I don't say mennä nukkua. That's just to go to sleep, or like to promise to leave, but we want to change it a little bit to be the actual sentence. So if you feel like you already got it and you want to try it on your own, you can pause it and try it, but if not, I'm going to just go through each of these and kind of show you again how this works. So let's start with I promise to leave. So just like normal, we're going to start out with the I promise. We want to conjugate luvata to say I promise. So this is a vowel TA word. It's going to harden, and we're going to add an N for I. So we're going to get lupon. This part shouldn't be too new. If this is still kind of hard for you, if you're curious why that happened, you could watch my videos on conjugation again. And then, since luvata is a modal verb, if I want to say I promise to leave, I can leave to leave in just its infinitive form. So I actually don't have to change this one at all. So just lupon lähteä. I promise to leave. Let's go over here. I learn to write. We got oppia and kirjoittaa. So first of all, just simply conjugate oppia to be I learn, which this one we'll get rid of the A, add N, and soften the double P to a single P. So we get opin. And then with to write, since oppia is a motion verb, we can't just leave it the same, unfortunately. What we're going to do with this one is first we're going to find the stem, which is just getting rid of this A, because it's a vowel A. And then we add mon. And we don't have to soften or anything. So it's just opin kirjoittamaan is I learn to write. So again, not too hard. Again, the most difficult part is just knowing if it's modal or motion. So we got opin kirjoittamaan and lupaan lähteä. Now let's do I can walk. Even though this says to be able to, that's just kind of a weird thing in English. We don't ever say to can, but when we actually say someone's doing it, we say can. So I can is voida. With voida, we just get rid of that DA and add an N. For I can, we get voin. And then since voida is a modal verb, we don't have to change kävellä at all. We can just keep it the same. I'm just going to rewrite that K. Voin kävellä. I can walk. Then, over here, I go to sleep. Now, mennä is a motion verb, not a modal verb. So, mennä, easy to conjugate. This is a consonant A, so go from mennä to mene, and then add the N, so we get menen. And then again, with nukkua, we're going to find the stem and add mon. So once again, this one is a vowel A, so we can just get rid of that A. And then we add mon. And then we get menen nukkumaan. I quite like to say that sometimes. Going to sleep is nice. I go to sleep, menen nukkumaan. I can walk, voin kävellä. So like I said, I'll put a list of basically all the modal verbs in the description, all the modal verbs I can find at least. And I would just try to get familiar with some of those. And every time you see a verb that's not on that list, it's most likely a motion verb. So if you want to use it in a sentence, like something like I go to sleep or I learn to write, then just know you kind of have to do this extra step of just finding the stem and adding mon. But not too hard. I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, make sure to put them in the comments and I'll try to get to them. And I'll put also kind of a review of how this works also in the description. So find that there, and hopefully that helps answer some questions. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Heippa!